Good afternoon, everybody. It's 5 p.m. It's now time for the Rocket Minute with Jason Wampler. And it's an irony that I call it the Rocket Minute because it always takes longer than that. Let me put on my glasses wherever they are. Hold on. You're actually using the Rocket. I gotta be honest with you, I just don't like this stand. But, and look at that. I'm going to bring it closer. Part of the episode is augmenting the production value of the show itself and or adjusting the camera to the point where hopefully you'll see the action. I apologize about yesterday's show. I did not adjust the camera correctly and it caught the action, but the action was my face at the time. Okay, look, that's a lot better. It's kind of cut my head off. I'm not necessarily the best looking person in the world. I really want you to see what I'm doing. No commentary today. Today is going to be mostly lab and not lecture. Although I feel the need to reiterate a couple of things. Number one, this technology, this tradecraft that I'm sharing with you is not to be used for violent ends or means, and I mean that. If I find out again if any of this information or what I'm showing you is being used for purposes other than either recreational, educational, or for research and development of rockets, launch vehicles, and sounding rockets, is used for anything else other than that, I find out, then I'm going to shut I'm going to shut the channel down. I'm going to request that Google, actually YouTube, which is owned by Google, I'm going to request that YouTube erase all past episodes. It is not my intention for this information to be shared with the type of people who have malicious intent for its information. So, just a disclaimer that I'm very, very, very strongly tempted to start building rockets. One of the things that I have to do, 3 things I'm still working on. One is kind of small. I need to get phenolic sleeves that will fit in the inner diameter of this. What we're going to do is we're going to pack phenolic sleeves with with corn syrup fuel, which is corn syrup, potassium and potassium nitrate, maybe with a little bit of iron oxide added to control the burn rate. Then we'll do either an offset moon core or a center core. The center coring these little fuel segments is almost impossible. I've done it before. You have to have a drill press, which is another thing before we get into making motors, which is going to be a while. We're going to have to get a drill press, so I'm going to keep my eyes out for that. I have 3 things to do, though. I need to look up on McMaster Carr how much phenolic sleeving for this is going to be. For the outer diameter of the phenolic sleeve needs to fit the inner diameter of this or close there too. Actually, it should be a little undersized, so that way I can wrap insulation paper around the phenolic tube, or even a thin rubber sheet or electrical tape, something to insulate the heat of the fuel itself. As far as the nozzle design is concerned, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So the other thing I need to do is I need to go ahead. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I need to go ahead and do some more research on the website builder. What does it cost to get a domain name, and what does it cost for hosting and maintenance? And I could do things myself instead of paying somebody else. Eventually, when I start generating some more income and get things rolling in, I'm going to have a production, maybe a production assistant and camera person, somebody to help me with working on the rockets. And then, of course, I need help with marketing and advertising and legal, and figuring out how to monetize this channel. So I'm going to do all that. So working on the website and then working on monetizing this channel, I kind of think they would go hand in hand. Um, and as mentioned before, these sites, these online auction sites where you sell your stuff, these people they'll make you promise after promise. They'll promise you the moon. When it comes to pay the bill, they only give you a burn up asteroid in a little section in Oklahoma that nobody wants to build property on, just metaphorically speaking. So, construction of these, I'll draw on a piece of paper. I could explain in technical detail how we're going to build these motors, but the honest truth is, yes, very good. If I have one already built but not loaded with fuel, I can better show you what we're doing. Building motors is not unsafe. It is not suicidal. However, the attempting to be a chemical engineer yourself and formulate fuel using an oxidizer and a fuel and a binder that just kind of piggybacks loosely off of other types of formulas and technologies is dangerous. Unless you're a chemical engineer, you're going to end up really hurting yourself. I almost killed myself a couple times because I took matters in my own hands. I didn't know enough, and I made the solemn sworn oath to myself that I would never again come up with my own rocket propellant formulas. I would look them up on the internet, read very carefully the instructions on how to mix and load and pack and machine these different types. I can't stop. These different types of propellants. Now, two propellants I'm willing to work with right now, which are no problem at all, are chromite solid fuel and corn syrup or sugar type of fuel. And one warning too about sugar rockets: if you don't know, you're going to find out, and somebody out there is probably going to get themselves seriously injured or maimed or even killed. Is if you use raw sugar, obviously you're going to have to pulverize everything. I have to stop yawning. I don't think I've had anything to eat yesterday or today, and that might be contributing. But sugar fuel mixed with potassium nitrate is a very, very easy mixture. It's 60% sugar, 40% potassium nitrate, and you can vary with that. Use varying degrees or varying formulations with that percentage of sugar to potassium nitrate. I wouldn't put too much sugar in and too little potassium nitrate. You're gonna end up making kitchen floor linoleum tile. Believe me, I already know. I've tried it, and that's what happened. If you use more potassium nitrate and less sugar as fuel, then you're going to have a rocket motor that burns very, very quickly. And if you don't index total impulse with the size of the nozzle throat, that's the thrust end of the rocket motor, and you don't do all your math just right, you go over that 40%. You get into 30% sugar, 70% potassium nitrate. If you don't do your calculations correctly, the specific shape of the nozzle itself, specific case and nozzle material selection, head end selection. If you don't do the center core of each one of the grain segments, you don't do you don't calculate the size of the throat, diameter of the throat for the nozzle. If you're off on these calculations and you go past the 60-40 critical percentage, then guess what? You are taking your life in your hands. I made a rocket made out of GoX, triple F, and pure granulated sugar because, and I didn't grind anything up. And then I used potassium nitrate, and everything was granular. I didn't grind anything up. Well, what I failed to understand is that there's already potassium nitrate in the smokeless gunpowder I used. Smokeless gunpowder is potassium nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal. And then I went and put some more potassium nitrate in it, along with Well, I think how to make it. No, potassium nitrate, pure granular, and coax double F, uh, pyrite, which is the little flakes of smokeless gunpowder. I did 20% Goax smokeless gunpowder, rifle powder. I did 40%. No, excuse me, I didn't do 40%. So no, excuse me, I did 40% potassium nitrate, 40% smokeless gunpowder. That brought me to 80%, and the other 20% was epoxy. And I'm thinking, why don't I, instead of impacting the two together, I'll just use epoxy. Well, guess what? I was off in my ratio of potassium nitrate because the smokeless gunpowder already had potassium nitrate in it. Then I added much more, and I threw the ratios off. And when I ignited that motor, it didn't take much of that motor to ignite. It pretty much blew up my face with almost the force of a hand grenade. And I was right there, and I could have killed myself very easily. I shouldn't even be here. And that happened back when I was about 35, 36 years old. Which isn't that long ago because I'm 42 right now. But I'd like to say, there's no such fool as an old fool. I'm old, but I'm not foolish anymore. So I get to reach escape velocity with that particular saying. I like this bit. I like you guys seeing everything I'm doing. These motors, I'll explain. I'll write a diagram when I figure out how I'm going to place things and how I'm going to develop that delay grain. It's not the formula of how, it's not the formula of what a delay grain is. That's the easy part. It's the ratios. So you make a black powder delay grain, but you put happiness in it by slowing the burn rate down, and you don't have a solid core going through it. But the thing is, and the way delay grains work, it's really complicated. And we're going to go over that. We're going to do some research, and we're going to do some studying before we even think about getting into construction of our own motors. These motors go on much, much better, much straighter and stiffer. They're light, and frankly, I think that we should just keep it that way for now. Let me run that in there and make that stop. But I tell you what we're going to do right now. I'm going to hold off on the student rocket. I am not happy with this clear silicone, so we're going to go ahead and remove it. Guys, this is kind of engineering. Engineering is so drawn out, protracted. The reason car companies spend so much money each year on developing new cars, the reason being you need to have large teams of experts, people who will design and redesign an entire large object using human resources of time and money. So the how do I say this? The what is it? 98 for Thunderbird cost Ford Motor Company $2 billion. That's billion with a B just for the first prototype. And I'm thinking that's extravagant. But I'm thinking with automotive design, engineering, manufacturing is the same as rocket and aircraft, and even starcraft and starfighter industries. The biggest expense is going to be the labor. I don't think people drag their feet. Designing, engineering, and developing something that actually works properly is, for lack of a better word, the essence of life. But it requires lots and lots and lots of hands-on. You're building something out of a bunch of inanimate raw materials, and you're bringing something to life. If you looked, for example, at the pile of materials that I used to build this, this rocket, we still don't know, how we're going to set up the recovery system. No shock cords, no shock cord anchored bases, no heat baffle, no nose cone yet, but I've got a good idea for that. We are going to talk about that tomorrow. So, jot that down in your notebook. We are going to talk about how to make nose cones tomorrow night, and I'll pose a question to you in that regard. That's very important. We're not going to talk about it now. We'll talk about it tomorrow. So, so on this guy, the first thing I want to start with is the fact that I drilled and countersunk 4 holes around the perimeter of the base to lock this fuselage in place. And guess what? I didn't need to do that because this rocket is small enough. It's not going to be transonic. God forbid if it's transonic. The way I'm building it, the darn thing would burn up in outer space. And then I'm not going to I'm not going to make a rocket out of plastic that's going to go transonic. If I'm if I'm drilling and machining and setting up a fastening system to make it this tough at the base, which is almost military grade, there's no point. This rocket will attain to an altitude of no more than 5,000 feet, which is my target goal, and then get to, how do I say this? And so at 5,000 feet, you'll probably accelerate to a speed of a little under maybe 500 to 600 miles an hour, which I'd like to see it. I like to see my rockets. I like to see them launch, fly, and true and straight. But I don't want to see them accelerating so quickly. It's like you're watching a bullet get shot out of a gun from the ground up in the sky. So anyway, so that's that. So I messed up on this. So here's what we're gonna do. Keep myself awake. My goodness, this is the time of the day. I really need to force myself to wake up. This campaign of what do we call it? No caffeine is just not panning out. I may have to revert to my old ways to get myself to wake the bloomin' bejesus up. And there it is. The glue is right where I put it. And what we're going to do is you can... Hold on. I want to make sure I can actually move this thing even closer. Let me put my glasses on because I really want you to see the detail of this. But I'm thinking if I get a smaller stand, I can put it right there. And I think I may go ahead and end up doing that later on after I shoot this show. But anyway, let me pull this a little closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Wow, if that is not up close and personal, I just really do not know what is. And you can, I mean, it's so close, you can almost smell the smell the action. Okay, come on, people. There we go. There we go. Okay, so let me get these tools and put them down on the side, the quarter tools. And guys, I keep repeating this. Keep your area neat and clean after every, not necessarily after every work cycle, but after you're done, you clean your work area up, store things away, keep things in a cool, dry place, no flammable hazardous materials, noxious fumes, no combustibles near ignition sources like a heater, gas line, a stove, or even an electrical outlet. Be safe, okay? I don't want that sort of thing on my conscience or I get a comment stating that somebody was doing what I did and asking why I didn't tell them to be careful when storing the materials. Well, it's easy to disclaim liability if somebody does something without my knowledge or consent. All the same, I have a conscience, and I don't want to be feeling bad about somebody having an accident. So if you don't know, just use common sense. And we'll have a safety episode too. I'm going to take my glasses off. I just want to make sure. Look at this. I just want this to be as close as it can possibly be. This line only stretches so far. Here, look. Okay. Ah, my goodness. I can suppose I can lower this down a little bit. There we go. Here, how about that? Well, look at that. That is just amazing. That is just amazing. Okay, so I drilled these holes and then I countersunk them, and I'm thinking of taking that countersunk tool back too, but I've got the level 3 to build. I'm going to be doing this on the level 3 maybe. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and fill these holes up with a little bit of glue, and be careful not to, when you set your glasses down, cyanoacrylate loves to stick to polycarbonate. It sticks better to polycarbonate, which is eyeglass plastic, lens plastic, than anything else. So be very careful. This stuff drags a little bit and has a mucousy consistency to it. This just isn't gel. It's just regular straight up super glue. It's not a real thin, watery type of super glue. That stuff, by the way, unless you're a professional, you really should not use that. I recommend the super glue gel, which is the sister of this material, because it flows so slow. If you make a mistake, you can catch it before it gets too far. Okay, and this stuff, by the way, it bonds skin very, very, very quickly. So be careful. And the stuff cures in the absence of oxygen or breathable atmosphere, which means it's anaerobic, which means in tight spaces when it sticks to your skin. Just imagine this, just pulling your hand away as soon as you can, because if you don't, it sets up and cures. You're gonna be wearing this little glue stick for the next 2 weeks. I'm not kidding. They don't call it super glue for nothing. Okay, so it is oozing out the sides a little bit. I'm just kind of wiping it. I want to get my glasses away from this to keep this keep this away. I don't really like the detail at the base here, and I know this is kind of a slow build, but yeah, and I really detest this clear silicone. I cannot stand it. I got this stuff at the 99-cent store, and honest to goodness truth is, folks, with chemicals, with adhesives and chemicals and sealants, you always get what you pay for. So be careful. If you're gonna get something that's cheap, it's gonna yield poor results. If you're gonna get glue, my suggestion is to go ahead and get glue that's a little bit more expensive. I've got a file set. This is from Harbor Freight, needle file with poly handles. And guess what? I'm going to end up ruining one of these files in an effort to get this silicone sealant out. This is a needle set, or the needle type file set. These files are good. I'll show you what we're going to be using them for. If we can get to the student rocket today after finishing with this, then we can go ahead and start sanding down the ruts for the fins, which will be very exciting. But like I said, this is student rocket number 2. We want to get this done. I'm trying to think if there's, because once I use this for that, it's going to ruin the tip of the file. Oh, it's got a point. Okay, so I'll use that. Harbor Freight. I got this Harbor Freight for like $3 or $4. You can't beat it. These are not high stress items that with plastic grips. I mean, when you get files, they don't need to be that fancy. A comfortable set like this would end up costing like $80 or $90 from Home Depot, or not Home Depot, from the tool truck like Snap-on. Snap-on makes excellent tools, but they're stratospherically expensive, and you get sticker shock. So that's just how it goes. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we got these holes glued. That was a mistake. That the diameter of this motor, or this body tube, was too small on the adhesion method. We didn't use reinforced bulkhead rings. We did what's called compound shims, and I want you to see right here. Right here, that's double-sided tape. That's electrical tape. That electrical tape, by the way, it tends to stretch and decompress or compress, depending on what its thermal reactive properties are in regards to being indoors or outdoors, sunlight, etc., and heat, etc., etc. So the tape is popping out a little bit. The biggest problem I have with running these guys in was not because of the way it looked. I would feel fine. The problem is, the problem is you're limited by this type of compound shimming, even though it's cheap. You're limited by compound shimming. On larger rockets, it's kind of a different issue. But if you want to use, heavy-duty fastening approach to smaller rockets, the same as you would larger rockets, be prepared to have other issues to deal with. I can't absolutely positively guarantee or predict or warranty the outcome of any type of experimental procedure that I don't sanction or talk about on this show. And you know what? I'm thinking I need my little X-Acto knife. I don't have my X-Acto knife. I have this box knife. And I'm thinking this blade is really worn out. So we're going to have to cut this silicone out. I don't like it. I don't like the silicone at all. I don't like the way it looks. And the fact that it's not, in thinner layers, it's not adhering to the surface of the body tube. So when you go to paint it, it's not going to provide an even finish. And it'll break the paint and peel back on launch. It'll look ugly, and frankly, it'll make this rocket look like you don't even want to rebuild it. So let me get this little screw out. Pull this apart so I get the other side of the sharp end of this blade. And here you go. No, you know what? Both sides of this blade are worked over. Ah, shucks. I'll just use the less worked over side. I don't know if you've ever done one of these before. They're not that bad once you get to learn how to manipulate these little fellows. You learn how they work, and you've got a better way, and you end up doing that. So that's the engineer's way. Let me see. Okay, hold on. So you got to slip it in here and push it together like that. Check it from a proper mechanical function. Okay. Because it doesn't recess all the way. That's checking for proper mechanical function. You know what? I put it in the forwardmost slot, and it's not retracting all the way. So when I go to touch this, I drag this knife past some bare skin. Because that little tip of the razor is sticking out, I can end up hurting myself. I'm just trying to make things not happen by recalling what has happened in the past. Okay, so here we go. So we get that, slide it in there like that, check the mechanical function. There you go. Boy, the other side of this blade is not very good either. So, okay, maybe just a little bit up like that. There you go. I can actually grab it. Okay, so here we go. I'm thinking I just need to keep this stand. Okay, so here we go. Now we're going to retract and run this screw in. And I'm going to show you how to get this clear silicone out. Hopefully you haven't done anything like this or taken my suggestions seriously. Another thing about the percentage rate of repairs of a rocket versus, the decision to just get rid of it. If you're repairing your initial design of rocket by more than 25 or 30%, you might want to think about just simply ceasing and desisting the project and stop building that rocket and just cannibalize it if you can. That means take it apart to its most basic non-existent form and use it at another school and tell them, I'm sorry, use the same school. I don't know, but god dang, what am I saying? But did I get that run in all the way? That's interesting. Oh, I did it on the wrong side. Boy, excuse me, I am tired. I'm so sorry. I'm always exhausted. I was wondering why the head of this cheese head machine screw was sticking out. That's because I put it in the wrong side. The other side of this cutting blade has the goodness. They don't need to make it this long, do they? Has the oh my word. It does not need to be this long, guys. There we go. The other side of this blade has a countersink. That's where it's supposed to go. So the cheese head side of the machine screw, it sinks to beneath or below the grip surface area of the tool itself, being a box knife. Check it now. Didn't go back, Jason. All right. Okay, so it works reasonably decently. We'll put that back. And that. Oh, guys, in case you missed it yesterday, I want to share something with you. Very, very, very excited about this. This stuff is called Color Max by Krylon. Paint and primer. It's green. Okay. So I'm not sure if I want to paint the double twin engine rocket green. I think I want to paint it. I'm pretty sure. Well, no, hold on. No, maybe I want to paint the double engine rocket. Maybe I want to paint this green. Maybe I want to paint this rocket green. But the other student rocket, maybe I want to, grate that white or paint that white. So I'll get more of this at $3.50 plus tax at Lowe's Hardware. The stuff is on sale. Actually, this is the only color that's outpriced. The other colors that people like is like $4.50. But under $5 for a can of spray paint, it also serves its own primer. It's perfect for plastic model rockets. So wait till you see what happens, how these model rockets, they tend to transform once you put paint and graphics on them. And then you start to realize, wow, then the project becomes real to you and you start getting really excited. Aesthetics have a lot to do with your level of enthusiasm for a project as well. because you want your rocket to look good. Alright, so I'm going to put that back because we bragged about that. So, here we go. So, alright, I'm going to put that away because I don't need that. And the rag, we're just going to go ahead and sweep everything on the carpet. Ugh, I don't like the sound of that, but I have to do that. And we're going to use the box knife. Tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and have an X-Acto knife with me. Hey folks, X-Acto knives, you can get them from the stationery section of any grocery store for usually about $5 or $6, $7 at the most. They're not an endangered species, so you might want to consider adding that, adding an X-Acto knife to your cache of tools. Okay, so this silicone rubber is quite tough. Okay, so let me see if we can start cutting it up. So I'll kind of go along the sides here, cut it in V sections. Be careful not to cut yourself. I cut my arm open, bleed all over the place. Have to drive nearest emergency room because I'm not smart enough to take my own advice, which is do not cut yourself. Okay, so we're getting this off. I really, like I said, I despise this clear silicone. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the fact it can stick to PVC just fine. But the gray PVC that I've sanded down as well, it doesn't seem to be sticking to that. And it looks really obnoxious. I don't want to put a coat of paint over this because of all the uneven surfacing, because that silicone just couldn't play ball and stick to the surfaces it was applied to. And as far as sealing things are concerned, these rockets will always stay inside. Folks, that's just one more thing. Look, you also need to be careful of something. I bought, let me keep working here. I bought a very tall, thin rocket from Estes, which was a really, really neat kit. I mean, I really liked it. It was one of those kits where you had three very long, thin body tube sections, and I think it was called like the school pencil or something like that. I could swear the body diameter was about roughly 12 millimeters, 12 to 14 millimeters, probably about 13 millimeters, and it was over 5 feet tall. And I thought that was cool, and I painted the whole thing, and I thought I did a good job. Well, I still think I do a good job, but I do more or better as time goes on, so I'm doing better in the future. I'll explain that later. But the problem was after I finished painting it, I left it out overnight because I was having a problem with the temperature and the humidity and the fact that, I just wasn't drying quick enough, and I kept painting it. Then you get shiny paint jobs on it. I get a shiny paint job on it, so I was obsessing on it. Well, that was during the daytime, and I left it out overnight because I didn't know how to handle it. And I mean handle it, bring it indoors. So I left it out overnight. So I come back out the next day. This is like 1/2 inch or 3/8 craft paper tubing with a really, really, really nice gloss green paint job on it. I mean, and that was when I was putting primer and paint on the rockets, primer for the paint and paint the appearance. And guess what? That 1/2 inch body tube that's nearly 5 feet tall, that beautiful green rocket, that day was bent. What had happened is the moisture from being outside overnight attacked the paper. It caused the paper the same thing that happens when you leave paper out for too long. It just gets flimsy and bends out of place. Oh well, that's kind of, in my opinion, that's kind of what you don't want. So I ended up having to throw that kit out, and that was like an $18, $20 kit, and I really learned from that. And that was one more reason why I don't like it. I don't like craft paper. I don't like craft paper as a building medium. Craft paper could serve as a shim, or it could serve as an insulation medium, but not as a structural supply. Okay, so we're going to cut this side and just keep cutting, keep making cuts, because I've got to get this clear silicone off. Try not to shave anything off of the main body tubes, or the upper motor tubes themselves. Just try and get this stuff off. And I just, boy, I regret using this stuff now. Okay, just make sure. Okay. And by the way, this stuff was to even out the pant legs. In other words, the surface of this type of fuel or type of arrangement that made so it look good with the paint job on it. This stuff this stuff will completely disrupt the cracker paint. So I want a nice clear finish. I'm kind of not getting it. Let's see a stab-one file. Okay, so here we go. This is a new technique as well. Guys, I don't mean to be trying new stuff and wasting your time with it. But, you know, all the same. Okay. You know what I'm thinking? Yeah. Boy, this is not easy. This is quite the stubborn battle. I guess this stuff is actually somewhat sturdy after all. Yeah, anyway, I could say a lot of things. This is not going easily into that good night. Let me turn it over and concentrate on the other side. Another thing you might want to consider getting is a very, very small handheld vacuum. They make those, but they kind of don't. If you set your stuff up in a garage, you have a cool, dry area, that's fine. Just be careful. So garage environments are entirely different. I've set up several garages. I'm good at it, but they have their own sets of hazards, and maintenance and repair is much, much different. So you got to be very careful. You got to be on your game. You have something sit outside and suddenly becomes a shock hazard because it's a power tool and the part of its cord is resting in the water. So, that's just one of many things. I like the setup I have now. So, okay, so here we go. All right. Okay, so trying to disrupt the peace and love and understanding of this silicone I saw on this side. Oh, boy. I have to get this near this lovely, lovely fin. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really training off here. So we're okay. Well, there we go. I'm getting something there, making some headway. So I'm gonna get all this silicone off, or get the bulk of it off, and then I'm gonna go over it with you know what? It would be perfect if I had that little triangle for my multi-purpose tool, and I could sand this off. But no, I can't do that because I don't have one of those. I don't want to take the time to go buy one either. I'll figure something out. Okay, so this is coming off pretty good. And by the way, guys, when I get finished doing this, I'm going to take it to the kitchen sink and I'm going to scrub everything down. So, and just make absolutely sure this break from this terrible, terrible, terrible clear silicone is complete. Okay, so there you go. Now that looks like an octopus tentacle, and wouldn't be surprised if some of this stuff was made from an octopus. All right, let's see. Here we go. Okay, we got that. Okay, so now the sanded down regular white PVC is an excellent medium for this particular type of application. The stuff doesn't stick very well either to the 48. How do I say it? It doesn't stick to the for whatever reason, it doesn't stick to the sanded white material. It does to the gray material in the center fuselage. I don't know what accounts for that, but I've had a hard time with gray PVC, in the past myself. Well, you know what it looks like? It looks like it just has to be rough. Okay. And I'm thinking maybe I can get something else here. Okay, so let me get another file. And by the way, too, folks, this is not what files are meant to be used for, but I can't think of anything else, and I have nothing else to do with my files, so it's a win-win, too. I'm just going to stick to my guns on that one. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out which one to use. You know what? I'll use this guy. I'll lay that out, and let's see what happens. again, guys, I know this is up to the point. Now you guys are seeing me make mistakes. So, and you're probably going to lose some confidence in me. Um, but like I said before, and like I'll say about two or three times a day, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, good or bad or negative. Tell me you love rocketry and you want to go visit Neil Armstrong's grave, and tell me you hate me with a passion because you think I'm a terrorist. I am not a terrorist, but I like it when people lose their top. Otherwise, civilized and educated, hardworking people. So, all right, here we go. So remember, that's just one little pit right there. I'm gonna take my block sander and I'm gonna sand this near the kitchen sink. I want to clean up all this. So here we go. Okay, wow. You know what I'm also cutting? I'm also cutting the double-sided mounting foam tape that I used to mount this particular rocket motor section to the lower transitional section. Okay, so there we go. There we go. I'm just executing this stuff. So here we go, folks. By the way, I think dementia's setting in. I can't remember if I had some. Oh yeah, that's right. I had a couple of hot dogs. Never mind. I'm getting pretty hungry, and when I get hungry and I'm doing something, I get very, very tired, which is what I'm getting right now. All right. Okay, so we got to get these motors off, but I'm gonna put them in the queue to be cleaned up and sanded down. Okay, so this, and this need to clean up and sand down. So we're gonna do both sides and clear this up. I'll bring a bucket with some water and I'll scrub this down. I literally like keeping the kitchen sink running, the water running, medium to hot temperature, mostly medium. And then I like to scrub things down with a Brillo pad and then a green scrub pad. All both loaded up with a ton of Dawn dishwashing soap. I'll do that to this entire section. The new unborn single-use motors. And this section as well. Tomorrow we're going to do fins on the number one student rocket. But tomorrow I want to take some time to show you exactly how we, Jason, are going to set up a lathe, a miniature wood lathe. It's going to be in the corner, one of the corners of this table itself. And I'm going to show you how to do it with nothing but a 4 amp, or excuse me, nothing but, oh my goodness. Hold on. I'm going to show you how to set it up with nothing but a drill and a couple of oversized black zip ties. It leads me to another conclusion. You never can get enough desk space. So no matter how desperately pray to God, two things you'll never get are your season. Anyway, I was just thinking about something else. Actually, I fell asleep. Okay, so, all right, so, anyway, so let's get the rest of this silicone off. Let's not be nice about it. Kind of showing you what I'm doing. Yeah, guys, you know what? I'm not digging this. I don't know. The one thing that occurs to me, if you make a product in an effort to get to target a market, a lowbrow, a financially tenuous market, meaning people who are going to buy your product are projected to make probably less than $10,000 to $15,000 a year. You're going to aim to those people, irregardless of what you think of what they can or cannot afford. Most people I know who save up their money eventually can. So I know a lot of people who are very, very good with money. Most of my neighbors are very, very good with money. It kind of goes with their culture, and I admire and respect them for that. Okay, so now I don't want to use this tool, but however, if I set it to the lowest setting, let me see what happens, because I really don't want to be removing plastic material. Nope. Not gonna work. Never mind. Not gonna give it a try. Tried and true. Tried and true. See, this stuff is just not bonding the way it's supposed to. It's not sandable. That's my biggest contention. I kind of don't know what I was thinking, but I didn't figure out the last time. I didn't plan ahead for the fact that, hey, good evening. How you doing, Paxton? I didn't figure out that I didn't figure out the fact I was actually going to be bold enough, to paint the rocket. We're going to have fun doing that too. But we have some other technical issues to resolve on this particular rocket until we get, before we get to that point. Okay, so here we go. So look at this. Okay, so I do like this file set already. I like teeny files because they do they're able to sand down large heavy duty projects in very, very tight spaces. Small stuff, small tools. By the way, folks, you get yourself hands on a set of small files. You'll find a pack of small files, triangular, round, teardrop, elongated leaf, the block, square, triangle, fat, etc., etc. You find a deal on files, like a pack of files, like what I got at Harbor Freight, then you want to go ahead and go for it. I'll move over a little bit. Wish the lead was a little bit longer. So here we go. Okay. Guys, this stuff is just... You know what I think? I think I may end up having to sand this, and I may end up having to sand this, scrub and sand this down, and then go back over it with some more super glue. Okay, so it is pretty tough. This silicone is still kind of tough enough, but this stuff wouldn't last, and I wouldn't recommend using this stuff on anything in your house because... What am I cutting? Never making this stupid mistake again. This is just the biggest mistake, and I really like this rocket too. Hey guys, again, my apologies for being a little bit too experimental. But anyway, we are eventually going to be able to launch these rockets. I swear. With just 5 years of doing the same damn thing. Oh, this side's coming off a lot better, a lot less struggle. So. A little bit more aggressive with the scrapers. That might have something to do with it. Okay, so maybe just cut deeper. Yeah. Oops, you know what else? I felt the motor tube move. So, guess what? Okay, so let me see. Uh-oh. And the motor tube is falling off. Oh my goodness. What a disaster. Folks, sometimes this happens, and I'm embarrassing myself. Maybe it's too soon. Maybe it's too soon to be building a rocket like this. I kind of cut both sides, and now this upper motor tube. However, you know what? That gives me an idea. It might just be time. And there goes the motor tube. You know what, folks? Actually, this is a good thing. And again, finding this out the hard way, it might be a good idea to go over this particular lower section of the fuselage housing, because I need to get this boogerific stuff off. So I can straighten out the edges of this by flat plane sanding it. I can go over these guys and fix them up again. I can reattach. I can clean this section up and get rid of all traces of this clear silicone. So I guess we're just going to go ahead and do that. Well, shite. Alright, yeah, I don't want to rebuild these, so it's a lot of work to just cut these darn things. And boy, making a mess. Hey guys, I'm really sorry about this. I just, yeah, I probably should have just done this to begin with. But I want this clear silicone off, and it's making such a mess. I'm going to need to use water as a medium and some soap. But I want you to see this edge there. See that? See how it's got a little curve up there? That's because I cut this angle with a multi-purpose tool, but it was attached to the fuselage. I should have cut that angle, measured and cut that angle with these tubes off instead, and then mounted them. So this is going to be a little bit trickier to remount these. If I can clean all this gunk off these tubes, then I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and take care of that right now. So, and you know what else? I think I'm having an issue with the motor mounted sideways on this one, because this particular edge here is crooked. Now, I tell you, mistake after mistake. What did I say? So if I make one more mistake on this airframe, then unfortunately we're going to go ahead and 86 it, and I'll just build another one within like about 20 or 30 minutes. I do have more of this material, and I'm thinking if I want to, I can just cut another one. But I've gone to a great deal of trouble to make these, so that's pretty much that. Okay, we're at the 52-minute mark, and I really, really, really need to turn and burn with these projects. So what we're going to do is this. The format's going to be like this, to whereby let's just lower this a little bit more. Here we go. So where you're just right here and right there. So you're just going to hear my disembodied voice. You are not going to actually see my face anymore, except on the heads up notifications. These fins are a work of art. But I'm not going to hopefully not ruin them. But this is going to need to undergo major plastic surgery. I'm going to have to get all this crap off. I can even up the pant legs on these, clean these up, even up the angles. I even up the angles on this right here, and of course right here too, and check even this there and clean these up like that, and then clean this up. Yeah, I just don't want to have to do any more rebuilding on this rocket though. Like I said, anything beyond this, I'm just going to go ahead and cannibalize it and start building another airframe. And wow, I got to really yank and spank on that one. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to tell you what my mistake was with the clear silicone. First of all, clear silicone was the wrong color. I should have used white to blend in with the white plastic. Or I should have used putty, wood putty, which is sandable, to smooth out the edges. The other thing is this gray transition, this gray PVC, I did not bother to sand this stuff down properly before I put those motor tubes on. There's release wax on the molds or the extrusion machines that comes on these. So that coats these gray PVC pipes. So as a consequence, the silicone had nothing to stick to. The surface is too slick. Now I'm actually thinking now that maybe the clear silicone works just fine. It just wasn't able to because I didn't prepare the surface properly. My mistake. Boy, I'm really looking like a horse's heel right now. You know, folks, something else I suspect that you guys are going to be watching episode after episode and losing faith in the fact that any of my rockets are ever going to launch. My motivation to get these projects done and not take on too many projects until we're actually finished with them and ready to launch is the fact that I want to disprove that insecurity to myself, and I don't want you guys to get that thought either. So I'm not sad or disappointed or anything. I think this is kind of a golden opportunity for me to start cleaning this up and these motor tubes up. I've got to go ahead and clean up the other sections of this rocket anyway. So here we go. So this is messy. Let me put these two motor tubes. I just don't want to get any smudge on my bed. So we'll just kind of rub that off like that. So we're going to go ahead and resand and reassemble. And by tomorrow night, this rocket will have a complete and new look. Oh boy, look at that. Oh my word. I've been here before. I do not like the look of this. Oh well. Okay, guys. So, sometimes we experience setbacks because we're trying a new design and we do something wrong or out of sequence or use materials we're not supposed to, or we didn't prepare the surfaces properly. So my advice, as it's an instructional video, my advice on all the parts: machine, fabricate, and surface prep all parts before assembly. So that should have been obvious to me. It wasn't, and again, I apologize about that. I'm a little discouraged and disappointed with myself right now, but that's okay. So you guys hit the like, hit the subscribe, and we'll see you again tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time here in Fullerton, California for another episode of the Rocket Minute, and I've been your host, Jason Wampler.